This is such I've never been so pissed in my whole life. And this murder Charlie Kirk right here in Utah. I'm so freaking pissed right now. This is I just saw blood squirting out of his neck. I love that guy. He would have been our next president. I am so pissed right now. Why do they always come with fucking violence? Gosh damn it. Use your freaking words as they're talking to you people. Who shot Charlie Kirk? I'm driving down a Provo right now. I'm so pissed. Damn it.
And just think, they haven't even lost their money yet. There is a lot happening right now. Actually, too much to mention. I haven't made one of these type of videos in a while because the way things are in the world right now, there is such a drought in the world when it comes to the word being taught. This has been my focus. People right now, they like controversy and drama, but the word, not too much. But it's the word that will keep you with a sound mind ready for what's to come. I have intentionally tried to focus on teaching the scriptures, regardless if it was what the people wanted to hear or not. Because we're coming to a time where this world is about to be severely tested. And if there aren't some teachings that can help people make sense of what they missed, people will be lost forever. Anyways, this world is in trouble, and it's important that many of you are made aware of it. Again, like I said, I have not focused on what's going on in the world intentionally, but it's important that you are made aware because I don't want anything to catch anyone off guard. There's a lot of noise in the world. There are a lot of things happening. I don't pretend to know exactly what will happen, but I do know that things are very climatic at this point. Things cannot keep escalating without any kind of change. At some point in chess, you keep making moves until the move is only to attack or to retreat. We've seen a few retreats over the years, probably because Yah did not allow it, but it's possible that we're at a breaking point. I want to make sure that you are aware of what is happening in this world so that if things change, you will not be caught off guard. War is upon this world. Make sure you're ready for it. Let's begin. Okay, so with all that's really going on, it was hard to know where to really start with all this. But I will start here in the United States and work my way out. I think the easiest thing to share is the most clearest depiction of really what time it is.
I think that's a big one, I'll be honest.
After winning a war for independence in 1789, George Washington established the War Department, and Henry Knox was his first Secretary of War. And this country won every major war after that, to include World War I and World War II. Total victory, Mr. President, as you said. Then 150 years after that, we changed the name after World War II from the Department of War to the Department of Defense in 1947. And as you pointed out, Mr. President, we haven't won a major war since, and that's not to disparage our warfighters, whether it's the Korean War, the Vietnam War, or our generation of Iraq and Afghanistan. That's to recognize that this name change is not just about renaming, it's about restoring. Words matter. It's restoring, as you've guided us to, Mr. President, restoring the warrior ethos, restoring victory and clarity as an end state, restoring intentionality to the use of force. So at your direction, Mr. President, the War Department is going to fight decisively, not endless conflicts. It's going to fight to win, not to lose. We're going to go on offense, not just on defense. Maximum lethality, not tepid legality. Violent effect, not politically correct. We're going to raise up warriors, not just defenders. So this War Department, Mr. President, just like America, is back. Thank you for your leadership and your clarity. We're going to set the tone for this country. America first, peace through strength, brought to you by the War Department. We're back.
So, okay, I don't really know how much more clearer people needed to be in order to show that we're in a period of war. From before Trump became president, I have explained that he is a wartime president. Him going back to the official name of the military department just emphasizes that we are in a changing period. As they said, words matter. And so it literally can only be those with their eyes closed that can't see that if they were the War Department in World War I and World War II, and now with all the events piling up, they have moved from defense, but war again, If you can't see them preparing for World War III, then I don't know what to tell you. After World War II, they were in defense mode, and now they say they're on offense as well as defense. So clearly with this change, it says that a great deal of change is upon us. And this goes right along with the expectation of the second seal opening and peace being taken from the earth. I mean, if we're biblically minded and we're waiting for this seal to open and occur, and then we see the most powerful country in the world rename their defense department from Department of Defense to War Department, that really should be all that we need to know and see. That really should be it, but it's not, of course. So what else is happening? I mean, let's also be clear that they're now giving signals that the US economy has weakened, and Jamie Dimon points to a possible recession.
The economy's weakening. You know, whether that is on the way to recession or just weakening, I don't know, and that just confirms what we already thought, kind of.
And I know
That's a big revision. They're still spending money. It's a little bit different depending what income set they're coming from. They still have jobs. Now, you just gave a big number, so consumers tend to react to that. So the consumers weaken, confidence weaken, you know, corporate profit is still up. And there's a lot of different factors in the economy right now. It's hard to figure out what it all means.
I mean, it's right in front of everyone. They're giving us all the reasons in the world to expect it, from Trump and his tariffs, to the rise of AI, to all the global conflicts. But the economy right now, it's not the main focus, because that won't be the first issue. Right now, the stock market has been climbing still, and that's just about inflation. At some point, when war starts, all this will change. So the people being distracted by the stock markets right now, they're all going to be taken by surprise when it all happens. It happens all the time. If you really want to see the state of the economy, look at the price of gold, which in just 1 month jumped about 8%. I mean, you're seeing unprecedented moves in assets that actually have real value, all because these fake currencies are on their way out. Just follow gold and just watch what gold is doing. Listen, please understand that this whole system, it's already gone. They're just putting their places in motion to handle the collapse and maintain their control. We all know about Trump threatening to move troops to Chicago and other major cities. I mean, it's good for distractions and all, but if you haven't seen the main truth of this, you don't really see the complete picture. Let's talk about it. I mean, for the longest, we have been talking about that at some point they're going to enforce martial law on our society. It's one of those things people have been talking about since Bush and Obama. People expect it. Understand what you're seeing. All they have done is put the precedents out so that when the time has come to put the controls down, they have already shown you ahead of time that it can and it will be done. From the minute we saw him send the military out to LA, we should have all mentally have awareness that at any point, he's going to put the military in the streets. Then he did this in DC, having the military patrol the streets. Listen, he's put the military on the streets in this country and threatens major cities, calling it law and order. And listen, Baltimore and Chicago, they were already dealing with problems when Trump was in office the first time. Please do not follow the news day by day and listen to their explanations. It is all garbage. The main point you need to know is that Trump has no problem putting the military on the streets. And if you understand that, then when the real problems come, you can understand what it will look like on the streets and who will be enforcing law and order and why you need to be off of the streets. So, as you see the news about him sending the military, don't be provoked by other nonsense. Don't be thinking about who he's sending it to, where he's sending it to, all that nonsense. The point was already made clear when he brought the troops to LA and then militarized the police in DC. It's already made clear. Now, it's not a coincidence that the area he's claiming to target are areas where the Negroes dwell. Obviously, this is very important. Please do not allow them to provoke you personally into whatever race or civil war they have coming on, as the other entities on each side keep bringing race up and they talk about not standing for it and all the other nonsense. You see people like Jamal Bryant out there marching, who they're making this new MLK. And listen, if you see Obama enter into it, it will be a mess. Just stay out of it. It probably wouldn't start out as a race war, but you will have some type of catalyst that brings it into a race war, and these Masonic Negro puppets will lead you into it if you are not wise. Either way, though, just pay attention to what's happening. This whole thing with Charlie Kirk is probably the first shot of the beginning of the Civil War. Liberals versus conservatives, and then it spills over to everything else. They were already setting this up earlier in the year with the liberal state representative shot in Minnesota. This country is extremely divided, And with it turning to violence right now, it's a big deal. It is important that you are sound-minded enough to not be provoked into any of it, regardless of the rhetoric. Do not pick sides, stay out of it. Keep your mind out of it. Now listen, there is a lot to say about Charlie Kirk. I'm certain that because of the role that he played at the time he was playing it, you could attach yourself to him in certain instances and believe he was one of the good guys. I mean, he said a lot of true things. He gained popularity at a time when the world was mad. And because of COVID policies stealing liberties and the Biden-Harris era of extreme liberalism, he was able to challenge the indoctrinated who didn't really know why they believed certain things. And he showed their hypocrisy. He was a well-spoken Christian. And because of times like right now where idiocracy is at its highest, it's easy for one who's well-spoken to expose those who don't really know what they're talking about. But here's the thing. Sometimes I really hope that people, they really pay attention to the videos that I made, because I speak about many different agendas because they all matter. And this agenda about Christian nationalism that I spoke about earlier this year is completely tied to with Charlie Kirk. But yeah, he was a Christian. And so for the type of Christians who got attached to Kanye West for saying he was a Christian, I'm sure it was very easy for Christians to get attached to a person who could actually articulate his Christian values. And he did it very well. But if you understand what I've said about Christian nationalism, you must understand this is an agenda. It's all about an agenda. The Trump presidency is about Christian nationalism. Trump praised Charlie Kirk for helping him get elected. It's Trump announcing the updates about Charlie Kirk. Christian nationalism was why that man was screaming in the beginning of the video. If you don't understand Christian nationalism and you are attached to the agenda surrounding Charlie Kirk, I think you really need to take a few steps back and really make sure that you're not under the spell that most of this country and this world is under. There are different agendas, different people following different schemes. In this country, there's the social gospel, and that's the Democrats, and a lot of race is tied into that. And then there's Christian nationalism, and that's Republicans, conservatives, and there's race tied into that as well. You hear them tying race into it right now.
Man, fight back! White 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 man, fight back!
What I'm trying to say is that you really need to take a step back and make sure you're not under the mind control. Most people are, and sadly, they're all going to be taken down the path that this is all leading you to. Listen, there is actually too much to mention on all this, and I refuse to make a video about Charlie Kirk. But this all goes back to the video about Christian nationalism. In a nutshell, this is all leading to civil war, and that was the first shot of it. The truth that should be easy to see is that they have used Charlie Kirk's death to distract and flood the minds of the public for a few good news cycles, while all these other agendas form around us. There are major things happening right now that most people have no clue over because the news is all about Charlie Kirk. Now listen, I am going to go over a lot of it and prove that, but I want it to be clear that you should not be tied to all of this if you are truly a believer waiting for the kingdom. None of this has to do with our Father and His will. This is all about creating your own will. You all that get so tied to these events, you really need to check yourself because it's all manipulation. It's like a puppet master behind you making you move to his own tune. Let's be clear, if this attack was real, which much evidence says it was not, but either way, if it was real, it wasn't by some crazy person, regardless of what they say. It was an assassination, which means it took planning and skill. What you want to know is that this is all about civil war. Just chalk it up to being about the coming civil war. They are saying the motivation was political, and as I said in that video, it's the social gospel versus Christian nationalism. And true believers should not be tied to any side of it. Charlie Kirk says he believed in Jesus, okay. But what was his belief about the future? What does he speak about Yah's actual Bible prophecy? If you don't really know, then move on. Speaking Christian values is easy to do. It all goes back to morality and Greek philosophy. Now, actually caring about our Father's promises and his ultimate truths and being against the enemy that spreads the lies, that's another thing. And Charlie Kirk was not about our Father's kingdom, and he was not against the lies of the enemy. That's the most I'm going to give you about this. Now, you can see that this whole thing can spill over in many different directions because there is already a major rift within this country politically. But right now, they're reporting that members of Congress have started canceling events, and there are calls for increased security because of the tension. And if Democrats truly shut down the government at the end of the month, like Schumer has warned, that will intensify this whole thing tremendously. Imagine the government shutting down, and it's because of the political split that has been polarized right now.
Working on bipartisan legislation that has real input from Democrats, that's the way to avoid a shutdown. Of course, there's another path, a far uglier path. Republicans can continue to go at it alone. They can continue to bow down to Donald Trump. They can continue to surrender Congress's constitutional powers over the executive and enable Donald Trump and his evil minion, Russell Vogt, as they illegally cancel and steal congressional-approved funding. So if Republicans choose the path of do what we say or go to hell, then they will be the ones paving the bitter road that leads towards a government shutdown. We still have some time to avoid that dismal outcome. We Democrats don't want to see a government shutdown. But avoiding one means Republicans have to show they are serious about having real, substantive, serious negotiation. This week, we need to see signs from Republicans that they are serious about avoiding a shutdown or time will run out. And the American people will know Republicans will be responsible if a shutdown happens.
Now listen, I know that government shutdowns get threatened over and over and they just kick the can down the road. But please understand that at some point, it's going to happen. Understand the agenda in this country. They have told you the agenda by name. When they created this Masonic country, it was built off unity. That's why it's called the United States of America. When it falls and the old world order collapses, it's because it will be the divided states of America. It's not really hard to see. And civil war is absolutely a part of this. You need to make sure that you are not tied to this. And always remember and keep at the back of your mind, remember, at some point, people are going to lose all of their money. All this is going to play into it. For many of you, though it's going to be hard to deal with, it's not going to catch you by surprise. Most of these people, like that man yelling in the video there, it's going to catch them by surprise and it's going to be bad. You need to be smart and not fall into the games and the agendas like the rest of this world is going to. In the end, what I'm communicating is that it's a mess in this country. And that's only because this country is in transition. The same transition that the world is in. The majority of the population are not ready for this transition. Please make sure that you are not a part of that majority. The main point to understand is that war is on the horizon. And that's internally right now that I'm talking about. But there's a lot happening externally. I mean, we know a lot about what's going on in Europe and in the Middle East, and we'll talk about all that. But please, pay attention to what's also going on in Venezuela.
Warning for the United States. If you mess with our country, you're messing with all of South America. President Nicolas Maduro made those comments in a rare news conference on Monday amid the build-up of U.S. naval forces in the Caribbean. Officials in Washington say ships are moving into the region to combat drug trafficking, allegedly linked to Venezuela. But President Maduro has not taken kindly to the show of force, calling it the biggest threat seen in South America in a century.
8 military ships with 1,200 missiles and a nuclear submarine are targeting Venezuela. This is an extravagant, unjustifiable, immoral, and absolutely criminal, bloody threat. They have wanted to escalate what they call maximum pressure, which in this case is military. And in response to maximum military pressure, we have declared maximum preparedness for the defense of Venezuela.
President Trump has been threatening to use the military to go after drug cartels, and today the administration says he did.
The Navy has been pouring warships into the southern Caribbean. Today, U.S. forces launched what a defense official calls a precision strike against a vessel from Venezuela.
It was filled with drugs, the official says, and operated by a narco-terrorist organization. Charlie D'Agata is at the Pentagon with the details. Charlie?
More details coming in this afternoon, Maurice. The strike announced this afternoon by the president comes at a time of unprecedented military buildup near Venezuela. It marks the first of its kind so far, and the administration warns this is just the beginning.
This morning, in what U.S. officials call a highly provocative move, the Pentagon says 2 Venezuela military planes flew near a U.S. Navy ship. It appears to be a show of force days after the U.S. military attacked this boat in the southern Caribbean, allegedly carrying drugs from Venezuela, killing 11 people. The Pentagon last night claiming the Venezuelan flights were designed to interfere with our counter-narco-terror operations.
It's a war on killers. It's a war on terrorists.
Just yesterday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio in Ecuador expanded the administration's crackdown on drugs flowing out of Latin America, designating 2 Ecuadorian gangs as foreign terrorist organizations and vowing to carry out more attacks on drug cartels.
The White House says that the U.S. is sending 10 F-35 fighter jets to Puerto Rico as part of an effort to combat drug cartels. This comes after the Pentagon says 2 Venezuelan military aircraft flew near a U.S. Navy vessel in the Caribbean yesterday. The U.S. calling it a, quote, highly provocative move. This 3 days after a deadly U.S. strike on an alleged Venezuelan narco-terrorist drug boat, a strike that killed 11 people.
15 minutes past the hour, and Venezuela is on high alert this morning as the U.S. military quickly builds up in the Caribbean. The South American country ordering more troops near the coast to tackle drug trafficking. That move coming after the U.S. hit suspected cartel members last week on a boat. With President Trump warning more military operations may be on the horizon.
Those who love and long for peace must prepare for war.
How we doing, Warriors? I think this might be the single most beautiful picture I have ever seen in my entire life. Looking out at these faces, looking out at this Caribbean, on a floating island of American power, on the front lines of defending the American homeland. Make no mistake about it. What you're doing right now, it's not training. This is the real world exercise on behalf of the vital national interests of the United States of America to end the poisoning of the American people.
War Department so much is not because I love war. I don't, and neither do you. It's because I seek and love peace. And those who love and long for peace must prepare for war. We are in the strength department of peace through strength. Other folks will make sure that the diplomatic relations land right where they should, and our commander-in-chief is focused on that. He is a peace president, but he's asked me, he's asked General Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, who's with us here today as well, to ensure that we have the most ready, most capable military the world has ever seen.
Do you see that? Continued escalation. And let's be clear, this is not just about Venezuela, but more about Brazil, the largest country in Latin America. Brazil calls the warships in the Caribbean as a source of tension. My point is that on one side of the world, right here, you have conflict brewing, and they can make all their excuses and all their propaganda about drug cartels and whatever. But they have been moving in Venezuela for a long time, trying to get regime change and to control the government, all that. Wherever their points of reasoning are, it does not matter. It doesn't matter more than understanding that war is being provoked right there in Latin America. So let's just take this map of the world. I don't really like this map, but whatever. We will use it. Right now, let's just mark it. This is where we have war being provoked. We have right here in South America, war provoked with Venezuela, with the United States, while tensions are also on high with Brazil and the United States because of their membership with the BRICS. So this is known conflict right now. And let's just add in the United States as well to this map because there's massive separation and split and divide. Internally, the country is drastically divided and civil war is brewing. So please mentally mark this so you understand what's actually happening. Okay, now let's go across the world here. I'm going to skip over the most obvious points to talk about what social media has left out. We'll get to the Middle East and Europe, but this is what I think has been left out of most Western media.
20 world leaders, including Russian President Vladimir Putin and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, have arrived in China for a major security summit. The leaders of North Korea and Iran are also in attendance. This meeting comes as the United States continues to implement punitive tariffs, frustrating long-term economic partners and allies.
The Shanghai Cooperation Organization has grown into a significant force in promoting a new type of international relations and building a community with a shared future for humanity. At this summit, we are tasked with an important mission to build consensus among all parties, ignite momentum for cooperation, and draw up a blueprint for development.
The Chinese and Indian leaders have met on the sidelines of the summit, announcing direct flights will resume between the two countries. They've also promised to work together on issues including terrorism and trade. This was Mr. Modi's first visit to China in 7 years.
They both agreed that the two countries were primarily focused on their domestic development goals, and in this they were partners rather than rivals.
Vladimir Putin is attending the summit as part of his 4-day visit to China. During an interview with Chinese state media, the president blasted Western sanctions imposed over Russia's war in Ukraine, saying Moscow and Beijing jointly oppose the discriminatory sanctions. Mr. Putin and Xi Jinping are expected to hold bilateral talks later this week.
Yes. So this is the other side of the powers that are forming for World War III. And they are showing unity and showing they're committing to a new global order.
The Chinese president also warning the last day of more challenges to global security and development, slamming what he described as bullying by other countries. 2 days of talks concluding with the signing of a joint declaration pledging deeper security, economic and cultural cooperation and endorsing a new development strategy through 2035. The Tianjin Declaration called on member states to oppose unilateral coercive measures, advocate for increased energy cooperation, and pledge to continue strengthening counter-terrorism activities, as well as oppose the militarization of information and communication technology. Chinese state media say 24 separate agreements were also inked. Laos, as we heard earlier from China's foreign minister, was unanimously accepted as an SCO dialogue partner. President Xi also proposing a new global governance initiative, warning that the house rules of a few countries must not be imposed upon other countries. Deborah Wong tells us more.
The leaders of Russia and India walking hand in hand, then smiles and even laughter as they spoke with Chinese President Xi Jinping. The rare gathering taking place ahead of meetings at the SCO Leaders Summit in Tianjin on Monday. The cordial atmosphere between China and India as both face challenges with the West. Now, just last week, India's exports were slapped with 50% duties by the US over its purchase of Russian oil. Addressing the summit, Mr. Xi said the SCO offers a new model of international relations. He urged partners to reject Cold War mentality and block confrontation, a veiled swipe at the US amid the Trump administration's global tariffs. The gathering takes place as many leaders will next head to Beijing to attend a massive military parade marking 80 years since the end of World War II. Deborah Wong, CNA, Tianjin, China.
So in these pledges, it's all about forming agreements for their side of the war. They are claiming their sides of this coming war. They speak in broad terms so that the general public doesn't fully understand unless they're educated in these words and meanings. I mean, just look at the first two, what they said. In that first point, when it says unilateral coercive measures, these are economic, financial, or political actions taken by one state or group of states without the authorization of the United Nations Security Council to force another state to change its policies or behaviors. So as they say they're opposing this would be opposing Trump's tariffs or his sanctions, or anything that Europe or the G7 have come up with to go against the BRICS. All of those nations made a pledge with each other to not let King Dollar bully them. That's huge. The second part was advocating for increased energy cooperation. And understand, that's all about oil and gas. Whenever you hear about energy, that's oil and gas. This is always what the United States has tried to control the world through. They are making their own agreements to bypass the United States. Iran covers the oil, Russia the gas. You see, they are uniting and setting their sides for the coming war. and most people are not ready for it. Look, as this video from CNN explains.
Here in Beijing, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has just arrived at a massive military parade with Chinese leader Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin. This is the first time ever that the three leaders have appeared on the global stage together, and the world's media is here watching. For Xi, this is about more than just unveiling new weaponry. It's about showing off a new global order with Kim, Putin, and other world leaders from countries including Iran, Pakistan, and Myanmar.
中华民族伟大复兴势不可挡。
As those troops and weapons roll past in Beijing, this show of military might and new global alignment is in direct challenge to the West, with some experts even calling it an axis of upheaval. And as US President Donald Trump unleashes chaos with his global trade war and shaky attempts to end the war in Ukraine, Chinese leader Xi Jinping has a message. China is ready to step up as an alternative leader to the United States.
So look, China is setting up to be the new alternative to the United States. Now, if you understand the full agenda, this will not be the case in the end. But it's the propaganda that leads their order out of chaos. And there are some main conflicts over there in the East. We have North Korea versus South Korea. We have China trying to retake Taiwan. I mean, China and North Korea just established agreements with each other outside of that security meeting with the other nations.
Chinese leader Xi Jinping and North Korea's Kim Jong-un have pledged to deepen strategic coordination in their first formal summit in 6 years. Xi met Kim at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing Thursday and hosted him for tea and dinner afterwards, according to Chinese state media. The summit could hint at a restoration of ties between the two states after they grew more distant in recent years. The readout from the meeting did not mention the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula as previous ones have. North Korea's nuclear weapons program has transformed Pyongyang into the most heavily sanctioned state in the world. However, Russia and to a lesser extent China have become less openly critical of that program in recent years as tensions with Western powers have risen. In 2022, China and Russia for the first time vetoed a US-led resolution at the UN Security Council calling for additional sanctions on North Korea over its renewed ballistic missile launches.
So just look at these places where the conflict is, and we'll just put a pin with US versus China here. The escalation will probably be because China went to retake Taiwan. And then we have North Korea versus South Korea. South Korea being another ally of the West. All right, just understand this is what's happening in the world. Now, let's bring it to Europe, because this war with Ukraine and Russia is continuing to escalate, and it never has been about Ukraine. It's just a pretext for war with Russia and NATO. And now we're seeing recently that NATO has been saying that they are being pulled into war with Russia. I mean, I've shown over the years that NATO has been saying that they're preparing for war with Russia. I've spoken about it many other times in the past. There's been a lot of preparation over the years, but things have escalated dramatically right now.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has issued a stark warning to the West, declaring that any NATO or coalition troops entering Ukraine during ongoing combat will be treated as legitimate targets. Speaking in Moscow after returning from Beijing, Putin said foreign deployments would only confirm his long-standing claim that NATO has effectively invaded Ukraine. He argued that if troops arrive now, we are assuming it will be for a legitimate purpose to defeat them.
In the latest escalation of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Ukraine's Air Force says that the Russian forces had launched 84 drones overnight into Tuesday. Of these, 60 were shot down by the Ukrainian air defenses. The drones were fired from Bryansk, Kirks, Milerovo, amongst others, with 23 of them striking targets across 10 locations. Meanwhile, in Russia, a man was killed in a Ukrainian drone attack on the Black Sea city of Sochi. Regional officials say that 6 residential homes were also damaged. And Russia's defense ministry claims that it intercepted 31 Ukrainian drones overnight, 15 of them over the Black Sea. In a related development, rising tensions are also being witnessed along Russia's border with Finland. Former Russian President and Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev has accused Helsinki of preparing for war with Russia, pointing to Finland's NATO membership and what he calls provocative NATO military exercises. Now, writing an opinion piece published by TASS, Medvedev criticized the establishment of NATO's Land Forces Command Center in the Finnish city of Mikkeli, close to the Russian border. Now, both sides are visibly fortifying their positions. Last month, Finland announced new defenses along its eastern frontier. And just last weekend, Moscow revealed that it too was reinforcing security measures on its border with Finland in response to what it has described as Helsinki's unfriendly actions.
Poland's Prime Minister says his country is the closest it's been to open conflict since World War II. This after NATO fighter jets shot down Russian drones, it says entered Polish airspace. Scorched earth shows where the drones hit the ground.
Yeah, according to Prime Minister Donald Tusk, there were 19 intrusions in all, and many of the drones came into Polish airspace from neighboring Belarus, an ally of Russia. He said that he's activated NATO's Article 4, which sets the stage for consultations with NATO allies. Tusk also adds that it's the first time Russian drones have been shot down over a NATO member state's territory. After a meeting with Poland's National Security Bureau, Tusk said his country is ready to repel what Poland is calling Russia's act of aggression.
We are most likely dealing with a large-scale provocation, but at the same time we're in consultation with our allies. I am in constant contact with the NATO Secretary General. This is so that we can respond to this type of threat as effectively as we did tonight.
So all of this coming just 1 week after President Trump met with the Polish president at the White House. Russia firing some 24 drones into the NATO nation on Wednesday. So the assault prompted NATO allies to militarily respond to this apparent Russian attack, and for the first time brought Poland to the closest that has been to open conflict since World War II. This move also prompted President Trump to issue a very strong message on social media, and I did want to share that message with you right now. Sharing on his social media platform, True Social, "What's with Russia violating Poland's airspace with drones? Here we go." So a very strong message from President Trump to Russia following that. And Senator Lindsey Graham also responding to President Trump's statement, saying, "I completely agree with President Trump's sentiment in response to Russia's insane violation of Polish airspace for hours, deploying multiple drones. Mr. President, Congress is with you. We stand ready to pass legislation authorizing bone-crushing new sanctions and tariffs that can be deployed at your discretion. Our goal is to empower you as you deal with this mounting threat. You are also right to insist that Europe follows your lead on imposing tariffs against countries like China and India who buy cheap Russian oil, the proceeds of which fuel Putin's war machine. To Europe, I hope you understand that Republicans and Democrats in Congress are working with President Trump on new ideas like tariffs to end this war. I also hope you are watching."
All this escalation is happening right now. The other NATO nations like Germany are all speaking out in wartime. And Putin obviously has been speaking that he's ready for it, and he's not scared to be using nukes. So let's just label this whole Europe region right here and say NATO versus Russia, which again, NATO is an ally of the United States. So add the US to this as well. And lastly, as I've gone over the world, let's bring it to where the real conflict is, which is in the Middle East. I don't know what to really target, but I think it's just clear to show that Israel is very much an aggressor around this Middle East region. These are just some of the recent events that have happened.
The chances for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas seem as distant as they've been any time since October 7th, 2023, when Hamas terrorists staged a surprise attack on Israel. Today, the Israeli military launched an attack against Hamas leaders more than 1,000 miles away in Qatar.
The strike was aimed at buildings housing Hamas's political wing in Qatar's capital of Doha.
Qatar, which has been attempting to negotiate an end to the war, condemned the Israeli attack.
Israeli airstrikes in Yemen have killed at least 9 people. The Houthi group says multiple journalists and civilian bystanders are among those killed in Sana'a. The district was Jauf. It was also targeted. More than 100 people have been injured. The Israeli defense minister says the army struck what it calls Houthi military camps and a media department. It comes 2 weeks after an Israeli strike killed the group's prime minister.
At least 72 people in Gaza have been killed by Israeli attacks in the past 24 hours, according to local health authorities. Israel's military has stepped up its strikes in the north of the enclave ahead of its plans to occupy Gaza City. Elsewhere, at least 7 Palestinians seeking aid were killed in Khan Yunis. Eyewitnesses claim Israeli troops opened fire on crowds heading down designated routes towards the aid sites. The IDF has not commented on the incident.
I've spoken very much about the letter that describes World War III, and if you don't see that they're actually following this letter to the T, you're really not paying attention. This whole area right here is in conflict. Israel versus Palestine, Israel versus Iran, etc. Really just call it 2 religions versus each other. And clueless Christianity is conflicted, waiting to be led into their false satanic light. The world is on fire, and anyone paying the smallest amount of attention can see this, but being that we're in high distraction mode with the NFL just starting back, they got people in straight distractions. So people will not be ready. And also, please note again that the United States is an ally of Israel as well, obviously. Here's the deal. In a week or two, we have the United Nations General Assembly about to happen. And we have a bunch of nations about to declare Palestine as its own state.
Now, the escalating violence in Gaza and reports that Israel plans to annex parts of the occupied West Bank has prompted more countries to support the concept of Palestinian statehood. Many nations believe recognizing a Palestinian state is the only way to bring lasting peace to the region. The UN General Assembly, which convenes on Thursday, plans to take up the issue this month. Now, 147 of the 193 member states of the UN have recognized a Palestinian state, and most recently, Mexico in January 2025, with Britain, France, Canada, Australia, and Belgium recently announcing they will also do so at the General Assembly. But Western officials are debating whether what some consider a symbolic gesture could backfire under Israel's current government.
Adding more fuel to the fire, having the world split on the issue between both Israel and Palestine. And if any of these other geopolitical events escalate during this time before the UN General Assembly really kicks off, you can see them being brought up at this assembly and there being drama. So just look at this map. This is the state of the world right now. There is absolutely nothing good happening right now. The future is not bright for anyone tied to this world and its system. The system is set to change. I mean, there's whole other things in place with AI and cryptocurrency. There's a whole bunch of other things that I'm not even mentioning that I don't even need to get into right now. But the whole world system is set to change. And in order to do that, they have to collapse everything. And this is what war is about. If you're not ready for it, you're just not paying attention. I know people trying to live their own lives and do all these other things that don't mean anything right now. Your job, your businesses, you buying homes, none of that matters. This is why if you're focused on the truth, you won't be led into these false games. The future is only bright for those tied to Yahuwah. And this is why I've been focused on teaching the truth about the word. So those who love Yahuwah more than religion can be ready for his kingdom. Because all this has to happen in order for the world to be cleansed. Please understand that none of this happening in the world has anything to do with true believers. I mean, here's the other thing. I mean, while all this conflict is going on, what are the tares doing? They're divided right now. Many of them are claiming that September 23rd is going to be the rapture of the church. And others are saying that no one knows the day or hour of the rapture.
Will the rapture happen on September 23rd, as in a couple weeks from now? Well, this concept has become viral all of a sudden, and here are just a few clips of what's happening online.
Is the rapture really now in September? That's what a lot of people have been saying. You may have seen many videos, TikToks, or comments claiming the rapture is coming in September. This is during the Jewish Feast of Trumpets.
But then I saw a TikTok of a guy saying he was selling his house and all of his cars and he was getting himself ready for the rapture happening on September 23rd. And I realized people actually think the rapture is happening September 23rd.
I've been asked to speak and address the idea or the message that's been spreading that's viral that there's going to be the rapture. It will fall on this September of 2025 on Rosh Hashanah.
Listen, I've always watched September 23rd, 9/23 for a long time. I think I saw how they put this number in so many different movies or something like that, very similar to the other event that we had 20 years ago. Anyways, I've always paid attention to this date. So them saying the rapture is going to happen on September 23rd, that's very interesting to me. Let me tell you what I know for certain. What I know for certain that there will be no rapture happening on this date. But it would be interesting to know if anything else happens. The Tares are following nonsense. They believe they're going to be leaving this earth. They are completely unprepared for what is actually happening right in front of them. And again, I've talked about this many times, they have a plan for Christians. If you have not watched that video, you should watch it. There is a plan for Christians. What I'm displaying to you is that this world is completely set up for conflict. If you biblically understand the times that we're in and what we're waiting for, the setup makes absolute sense. There's internal conflicts in the nations, as well as external conflicts with nations against nations. In order for a new world system to occur, you need the old world system to collapse. And the current leader of this old world system is currently involved in all those conflicts that we've labeled on that map. And this leading nation is going back to having a War Department. That's the name of it. For any of you that needs a lot more convincing, please know that this video is not made for you. So just move on. And plus, I'm certain the enemy sends in his plans in the comments just to send disruption. I don't care about if you don't believe. It doesn't matter to me. For those of us in the truth, we are waiting for the second seal to be lifted. And what does that mean? Well, let's read it first. When he opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature saying, "Come and see." Another horse, fiery red, went out, and it was granted to the one who sat on it to take peace from the earth, and that people should kill one another, and it was given to him a great sword. Revelation chapter 6, verses 3 and 4. This is peace being taken from the earth, and from this, then we see what follows after it: famine and inflation, and then massive population loss. But the beginning is when peace is taken from the earth. And if right now you can't look at the world and see that they're gearing up for peace to be taken from the earth, you're living in La La Land. I mean, this man is setting the military up on US soil casually. There is too much happening to ignore, which is why I wanted to make this video this week and bring everyone's attention to the walls closing in. If you have been growing your faith and growing in obedience, if you have been focusing on serving Yahuwah more than serving yourself and not living in lawlessness, you will be ready for all that's coming. The important thing to remember when it all starts is not to panic. As these things escalate, please do not panic. Remember, Yahuwah is preparing the world for us, and these things must occur. If you're not prepared for it, you're running out of time to get things in order. I have made this video in the beginning of the year to refresh your mind about preparing. Take the advice from the video. Listen, I honestly have a lot to say about all this, but I don't want to talk about it really. It is what it is. My warning to everyone is simple. Do not be distracted and caught off guard. These people are working against us in order to move us in their satanic agenda. There is nothing but evidence that reveals this. This world is trying to move the world into accepting a satanic agenda that leads everyone into accepting the lawless one that is coming. If you do not see this, that means that you're in the strong delusion. That is, for the mystery of lawlessness is already at work. Only he who now restrains will do so until he is taken out of the way. And then the lawless one will be revealed, whom the Adon will consume with the breath of his mouth and destroy with the brightness of his coming. The coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan, with all power, signs, and lying wonders, and with all unrighteous deception among those who perish, because they did not receive the love of the truth that they might be saved. And for this reason, Elohim will send them strong delusion that they should believe the lie, that they all may be condemned, who did not believe the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. The 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 7 through 12. But for us, we are encouraged to stand fast and hold the traditions which you were taught, whether by word or our epistle. Now may our Adon Yahusha, the Messiah himself, and our Elohim and Father, who has loved us and given us everlasting consolation and good hope by grace, comfort your hearts and establish you in every good word and work. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 15 through 17. I did not show you all these things to create fear in you. I'm just showing what is happening in this world, and I don't want anyone to be unaware of it. There's a lot more, actually. If you have fear, though, it's only because you have not made Yah your priority, and that needs to be a wake-up call for you. But listen, for me personally, in this ministry, I'm honestly tired of warning people, which is why I don't make these type of videos often anymore. If you need warnings by now, you probably aren't going to be ready in the first place, and these messages aren't for you. But because of all of this happening right now, and things are moving so quickly, I wanted to make sure I gave a quick reminder of reality for those that don't really pay attention to what's going on in the world and know all these things that are happening. I don't want any of this to catch anyone off guard because you're not paying attention to the news, because not paying attention to the news is a good thing. Keep your mind sound. But listen, be ready for problems. That's what I'm saying. Don't panic or move with fear when they happen. Just be ready for these things because it's going to happen. And it's happening for us. But in order to get to the good, there will be challenges that comes before it. And only if you're mentally and spiritually ready, will you be ready for what happens. You cannot move like everyone else. When it all starts, you must be ready to stay inside for a bit and live in power and let Yah cover you, because he will cover those who are his. Let the tares deal with all that nonsense. They are waiting to leave in a rapture. And the other Satanists, they're trying to bring about their new world order. And everyone as a whole, they're waiting for this false Messiah to come. The conditions must be set though, and that's what the coming chaos will all be about. I just ask that those of you who are in the truth live with a sound mind, live with no fear, and do not be provoked. Treat it like you're watching a movie. Literally, treat it like a movie. And do not be emotionally attached. And just wait for our Father to get all the distracted ones out of the way. Do not be a part of them, even if many of them are your family. Do not be like Lot's wife. Be ready is what I'm saying. I hope that you heed that warning and advice. Because listen, as I've been saying for a while now, the kingdom of Yahuwah is truly at hand. Be ready for it. And be blessed. Hallelujah. Praise Yah. Okay. Thanks again for watching. This is Bless You. Please make sure to like and share this video with others. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you subscribe to this channel. Yah willing, I upload every Friday. Also, please don't forget to follow this ministry on Facebook and Instagram, as well as on this website, truthunedited.com. If for any reason you do not see this channel any longer, you can always find the ministry on my website. Please make sure you subscribe to the email list to always stay connected. Please continue to pray for this ministry. Your prayers and your support are sincerely appreciated. As always, I'd like to thank all those who have donated to this ministry. Your contribution is a huge blessing to this ministry and helps continue on with this assignment. Your support is a blessing. I'm always humbled by your support and I'm very thankful for you. Be blessed. Okay, thanks again for watching, everyone. I love you all.